All right, testing, 1, 2, 3. We are live. You should be able to hear me. Blue mic check. Boom. I think we're good to go. Awesome. Let's move into the content because we got some good stuff today. I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. My son's much delayed birthday party is finally here. But I don't think it's going to take us more than 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes tops. So I think I'm going to be all right. This is our 14th lecture. We finally hit the halfway point. We are halfway through this lecture series, which is exciting. So about 13 more weeks of this, and then we'll be done. You'll have gone through all of the Greek content to be able to study the New Testament in the original language. How awesome is that? Little by little, you just work at it, and boom, before you know it, you're done. It's that simple. So here we are, and we've reached the halfway point. That's exciting. That's something to be proud of. And it's also a good time to remind yourself, I got to look back and review. Sometimes you get this cloudy haze, this fog, as Mounce likes to call it. And sometimes to find your way through that, you just got to go look back on your notes, look back on the material, look back on some of the workbook problems that you've already done, and be excited and be enthused by the fact that, now I understand that a little better. It happens because as you build on these concepts, things start to fall in line, okay? And sometimes we just need a reminder that this is worthwhile and I am growing through the process. So don't be afraid to look back, look through the fog. Today we're covering first and second, aorist, futures, passives. Whew, that's a lot. Why are we studying aorist, which is past tense, and future, which is, future tense, at the same time? Well, you read the material, so you know there's some similar features when we're talking passive indicative for first and second aorist and first and second future. So that's what we're reviewing today. Now you'll have noticed my slides have cleaned up. You know why? I'm no longer using a browser to share my keynote. I'm using my phone. Who knew? All right, so let's start with the aorist. Remember, aorist is past tense, okay? We are now, this week, focused on passive. Last week, it was aorist active and aorist middle indicative. Now we're looking at passive. So the aorist, because it is aorist, has an augment at the front. Then it uses the aorist passive tense stem. This is the first aorist. Then it uses a tense formative. In this case, it's the. And then you tack on the secondary active personal endings. Yes, active. Don't be confused by that. We're passive indicative here, but it's not relying on the middle passive endings. It's using the active endings. Why? Because there's a tense formative that tells you this is passive. Theta eta, phi, is the passive indicative tense formative, at least for the first aorist, okay? Because phi includes a vowel, there is no connecting vowel. The only thing you really need to be aware of in addition to the tense formative is the square of stops rule, because when you have a square of stops and you add a theta, then you get some interesting changes. Your labials will change to a phi, your velars will change to chi, and your dentals change to a simple sigma. Okay? So you'll see some weird things, but all you have to know is this comes from the square of stops. And because you've learned the square of stops weeks ago, you can recognize it. You don't necessarily have to know exactly what happened, but you can recognize it. That's all that matters. You're going to have the tense formative. You're going to have the augment. You're going to see a tense stem that's going to look familiar, and you can put things together. You can figure it out. So here's Leo. Okay, Leo, I destroy. That's the present active indicative. To make the aorist, you add the augment, so we have the epsilon at the beginning. Then this is the aorist tense stem, although in this case, because it's first aorist, it's identical to the present tense stem, li. Then we have the tense formative, theta eta. And then we have the primary active endings, ni. Elithene. That's I was destroyed. And then elithis, you were destroyed. Elithi, he will destroy. Elithemen, or Elithemen, we were destroyed. Elithite, you all were destroyed. Again, all being in parentheses. It's implied, but you don't have to translate that. Elithison. I always get the accents mixed up. Elithison, okay? They were destroyed. So this is, again, first aorist. It uses the present tense stem, but just understand it's actually the aorist tense stem. That's why they need a tense formative, theta eta, okay? This is very similar to the future indicative, future present and middle indicative, but this is the past tense, okay? So we've seen this idea of a tense formative before. This is nothing new. We saw it with the aorist as well in the present and middle, depending on if it was first aorist or second aorist. So this is nothing new, just a different feature. So now, here's an example with a square stop. We've got blepo, bleep, bleep, I see, right? When you blink, you bleep. I see, blepo. Get it? That's how I remember it. So you add the augment, epsilon at the beginning. You have the beta, lambda, epsilon for it's the present tense stem, but in this case, it's the aorist tense stem. The P changes to phi because of the square of stops. And then we have the theta, eta tense formative, and then we have the active endings. Eblephthene, I was seen. Eblephthis, you were seen. Eblephthi, he was seen. Eblephthemen, we were seen. Eblephthite, you were seen. Eblephthison, they were seen. All right? Now, here's an example of a first aorist that's pretty interesting because you have an augment. You don't always augment with a simple epsilon. But immediately, we have a square of stop change. Immediately. So the alpha, when combined with an epsilon, becomes an eta due to the augment here, okay? What's my rule? A fish, well, it's usually a fish plus a crab becomes a bigger fish, but in this case, it's actually the opposite, right? Because the epsilon's first. So a crab plus a fish is a crab with a claw. Okay? So epsilon alpha becomes an eta. So the eta's there, that contains the augment, and then immediately the present tense stem, which becomes the aorist tense stem here, is aug, right? Well, the gamma changes to chi because of the presence of the theta in the tense formative. Okay? And then we have the tense formative theta eta, and then the active primary endings. So now we're left with ichthene. We went from ago to ichthin. All right? If you're ever sick and you need to clear your throat, this is a great word to practice. Ichthin. Oh, gosh. Ichthin. You could translate this, I was arrested. Okay? I was led. Ichthis, you were arrested. Ichthi, he was arrested. Ichthimen, Ichthimen, we were arrested. Ichthite, you were arrested. You all were arrested. Ichthisan, they were arrested. Here's another one. Baptizo, to baptize. I baptize. So you have the augment at the very beginning, followed by the present tense stem, which becomes the aorist tense stem. Bapti. Okay. This is a square stop rule. Zeta is not the tense stem, right? Baptizo. The tense stem for baptizo is actually baptid with a delta. So the delta in the presence of the theta will change to a sigma. Okay? Baptisthin. So I was baptized. Ebaptisthis, you were baptized. Ebaptisti, he was baptized. Ebaptisthimen, we were baptized. Ebaptistite, you all were baptized. Ebaptisthisan, they were baptized. This is why you need to learn the stem. Don't just learn the present active indicative, baptizo. You also need to learn the stem. Okay? Because it's going to impact little nuances like this. All right? So that was all the first aorist passive indicative. Let's talk about the aorist passive indicative in the second aorist. It's the same thing we just saw. The only difference is the tense formative is simply eta. There's no theta. Okay? It still uses the secondary active personal endings. You know what? I was making a mistake before. I was saying the primary active endings. What I meant was secondary, but it is active. Okay? Because eta is a vowel, there's no need for a connecting vowel. It's already built in with the tense formative. You just slap on the secondary active personal endings and you are good to go. So look at grapho. To write. I write. You have the augment plus the aorist tense stem, graph, plus the eta tense formative, and then the secondary active personal endings. So egraphine, I was written. Egraphis, you were written. Egraphi, he was written. Egraphi, wait a second. 1, 2, 3. I have egraphi twice here. I don't know why. I've got a mistake in my slide. Egraphimen, we were written. Egraphite, you all were written. And egraphisan, they were written. Chairo, what is this? To rejoice? I think I forgot. You can see, being a second aorist here, it's liquid. So we get a little bit of the liquid features to come through here, right? So the iota drops out. There's no I, there's no iota, okay? But we still tack on the tense formative and our ending. So we've got our augment. Then we have the aorist tense stem, but it's liquid, so the iota drops out. So ekharin, I believe this is I rejoice. So I was rejoiced, like, I don't know, people mourning over me. Echaris, you were rejoiced. Echari, he was rejoiced. Echari men, we were rejoiced. Echarite, you were rejoiced. Echari-san, they were rejoiced. Now, let's talk about the future. We've gone over the first and second aorist passive indicative. Now let's talk future passive indicative. And again, there's two kinds. There's the first, there's the second. It's just like we saw with the aorist in the passive. It's just like we saw with future in the present. There's two kinds, right? So the first future passive uses the aorist passive tense stem plus the tense formative thes, which looks identical to the aorist tense formative in the passive, with one exception, the sigma. That stands true to all the other rules we learned about future before, right? Because a future has a sigma in the tense formative. So when you see sigma in the tense formative like this, what should you be thinking? That's right. You should be thinking future. Now, it doesn't mean the aorist can have a sigma in its tense formative, but it also has an augment. So when you see an augment plus a sigma in the tense formative, you know it can't be future at that point. So process of elimination, okay? If there's no augment and you see a sigma in the tense formative, now you know you're probably dealing with the future, plus context will help. So the tense formative is theta eta sigma. Then you have a connecting vowel because the tense formative does end in a consonant. So you're going to need a connecting vowel. And then it's the primary, middle passive, personal endings. There is no mistake here. It is the aorist passive tense stem. Plus you have the future active tense formative sigma in there, included in the theta eta sigma, okay? And that's how you know you're dealing with the future passive. Look at Leo. There's no augment. You see the tense stem, li, which looks identical to the present, but then you see theta eta sigma. No augment plus theta eta sigma is clearly future, but it's future passive. Then we have the connecting vowel omicron and the secondary endings. Me, lithesome, lithesi, lithesate, lithesometha, lithesiste, lithesonte. This would be translated something like, I will be destroyed. You will be destroyed. He will be destroyed. We will be destroyed. You all will be destroyed. They will be destroyed. Okay? Here's another example. This one using tireo, the epsilon contract verb. Again, it probably took me my second year into Greek figuring this out. No. Yeah. Roughly 2 years into Greek. No, 3 years. Yeah. I'm a slow learner. Let that be encouragement to you. I didn't understand. This is why I keep stressing it. A contract verb is not going to exist in the wild the way you see it in the lexicon. You will never find tireo. You'll only find that in the lexicon, in the dictionary. In the real world, in the actual writings, in actual usage, you will see tiro. There's no epsilon. It contracts. Okay? That's why I keep stressing it, but I digress. So here we have tirithesome. Okay? The epsilon lengthens to compensate for the theta eta sigma. Tirithesome. Okay, then we have the theta eta sigma, future passive indicative, plus the connecting vowel, plus the secondary endings. Okay, so tirithesome, tirithesi, tirithesete, tirithesometa, tirithesiste, tirithesonte. So I will be kept, you will be kept, he will be kept, we will be kept, you all will be kept, they will be kept. Now look at this second future passive. You use the aorist passive tense stem. Yes, again, aorist. Your tense formative doesn't have a theta. It uses eta sigma. But again, we see the presence of a sigma there. Plus the connecting vowel, plus the primary middle passive personal endings. I made a mistake on the last couple slides, didn't I? I kept saying secondary. Oh, gosh. I'm beside myself. They're primary middle passive endings, okay? So when you're looking at your quadrant chart, it's your left side, bottom. That bottom left quadrant, okay? But again, it's aorist passive tense stem, even though it's a future. There's just going to be no augment. You do see a tense formative sigma. It's just coming after the eta. Okay? So the first future is theta eta sigma. The second future is eta sigma, no theta. Okay? So look at apostello. I send. That's what an apostle is, someone who was sent. So this is a liquid future. So we will see the lambda drop out. It's the aorist tense stem. So that would be okay. That's what we're used to seeing. And then the eta sigma tense formative. Then the connecting vowel. Then the primary middle passive personal endings. Apostalisome. Apostolisi. Apostolicete. Apostolisos. I gotta slow down. Apostolisometha. Apostoliciste. Apostolisonte. Okay? So I will be sent, you will be sent, he will be sent, we will be sent, you all will be sent, they will be sent. Returning to Cairo, you can also have this form here. We saw it a moment ago, right? But here, wait a second, was that aorist? I think that was aorist we were talking about. Now this is the future. We see the tense. The iota drops out because rho is liquid. Okay. Then we have the eta sigma, second future passive tense formative, plus the connecting vowel, plus the primary middle passive endings. So charisome, charisi, charisete, charisometha, chariseste, charisonte. I will be rejoiced. You will be rejoiced. He will be rejoiced. We will be rejoiced. You all will be rejoiced. They will be rejoiced. And that's it. Whoa. We didn't even make it 30 minutes? Is that for real? What time is it? 25 minutes? Dang. It's your fault. You didn't ask any questions. I don't know what questions you had, but toss them in the chat. I'm still here. We got some time. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button. And then once you hit subscribe, there's a little bell. And you want to get little brackets around it. So hit the bell for notifications. When I do go live, you get instant notification on your phone, tablet, PC, Mac, Linux, I don't know, whatever you got. Raspberry Pi. I don't know if you can get it on Raspberry Pi, but I would appreciate the support. And that way you don't miss any content. Between these live sessions, the archives, Greek word of the day, don't miss out. If you feel so led, you can help support me by donating at streamlabs.com/phoneofone1. It's in the link below. Not required, always appreciated. The whole point of doing these lectures is to make it free and accessible for people to enjoy. We'll be back next week for our 15th lecture. You know what? We just finished the indicative. Now we're going to start learning all the other moods, which is exciting. There's a lot left to learn. We've got to go over participles. We've got to go over infinitives. We've got to go over the subjunctive mood.